The Old Arnold Estate, a name no one remembered, until it became a nightmare. This ancient wooden house, built in 1736, stood alone in the desolate fields of Harrisville, Rhode Island, like a ghost abandoned by time. 200 acres of land, 10 dark bedrooms, and walls soaked not in the history of life but of death. In December 1970, the Perron family stepped through its doors, carrying dreams of a peaceful life. But they had no idea that this place belonged to restless spirits, entities lurking in the shadows, whispering through the cracks, tapping their nails against the wood in the dead of night. Thudding sounds in the walls, the stench of rotting flesh, silent figures watching from the corners. This was their reality, the story that would later inspire the Conjuring series. But trust me, the truth is far more terrifying than anything you've seen on screen. Picture this: the blood-red hues of sunset stain the house's roof, the wind howls through rotting planks, and a lone black crow perches above, its beady eyes gleaming as if foreseeing the horror to come. Roger Perron, the steadfast father, Carolyn, the gentle mother, and their 5 daughters, Andrea, Nancy, Christine, Cindy, and little April, drag their suitcases inside. The previous owner, a frail old man with sunken eyes, hands them the key and mutters, "Keep the lights on at night." Roger asks him to repeat, but the man simply turns away, disappearing into the thickening mist. Carolyn chuckles. He must be joking. But as the door swings open, a cold gust rushes past, carrying with it a faint, sorrowful moan. April clings to her mother's hand. "Mommy? I hear someone crying." They step inside. The wooden floor creaks beneath their weight as if someone is following behind them. Andrea wrinkles her nose at the overpowering stench of rotting meat. "It's just an old house," Nancy shrugs, but her uneasy glance says otherwise. In the kitchen, Carolyn props a broom against the wall, only for it to topple over untouched. She picks it up, places it back, only for it to fall again, this time with a dragging scrape across the floor. She calls for Roger, but only the whistling kettle responds, despite the stove never being turned on. Steam thickens the air, mingling with the faint sound of children giggling. Then, in the center of the freshly cleaned floor, a small mound of dirt appears, as if someone had deliberately placed it there. That first night, they gather under the flickering glow of an oil lamp. Christine leans toward Cindy and whispers, "Did you see the old man on the stairs?" "He smiled at me." Cindy nods. "I call him Uncle Manny. He likes playing with us." Roger laughs, dismissing it as childish imagination. But as they head to bed, the air turns suffocating. I hear it, the first thump against the wall. Subtle yet sharp, like fingernails tapping in rhythm. Then the second, the third. A haunting, relentless beat. Carolyn jolts awake and switches on the light. Nothing. She whispers to Roger, "It sounded like something inside the walls." Half asleep, he mumbles, "Just the wood settling." She turns off the light and lies back down, but the knocking doesn't stop, now joined by a low, raspy hiss, like wind slipping through unseen cracks. She opens her eyes, and I see it with her. A hazy figure stands in the corner. A man in tattered clothing, his twisted smile stretched unnaturally, his eyes white and lifeless, staring directly at her. "This is my house." The voice rasps. Carolyn screams. The family rushes in. Roger flips the switch, the figure is gone. But Andrea trembles at the doorway. "Mom, I saw him, on the stairs. He didn't have legs." Then crash, a chair in the living room topples over on its own. April wails, "I don't want to stay here." The foul stench of decay thickens, seeping into their lungs like death itself slithering through the house. Roger pulls his family close, forcing confidence into his voice. "It's just an old house. But I see it, through the window that twisted figure still stands outside. Watching, smiling. And in the howling wind, a guttural laugh echoes through the night." Days passed, but the darkness in the Old Arnold Estate never slept. The small signs at first, the moving broom, the whistling kettle, were merely greetings from the spirits. Now they revealed themselves, and they were far from friendly. Every morning, precisely at 5:15, the stench of rotting flesh filled the bedrooms. Beds shook violently as if unseen hands were tossing the children onto the floor. The muffled sobs of a little boy echoed down the hallway, followed by knocking at the door, but when opened there was only darkness. The girls felt their hair yanked, their legs pulled as they slept, as if mischievous ghosts were toying with them. But I knew, This was no game. One day, Cindy hid inside an old wooden chest while playing hide-and-seek. The lid slammed shut, though it had no lock. She pushed, screamed in the suffocating darkness, sweat mixing with tears. 20 minutes passed. She could barely breathe. She thought she was going to die. Then Nancy ran over and opened the lid with ease, but Cindy swore something had been holding it down, something ice-cold and unmovable. Carolyn felt it too. One evening as she lay on the sofa, a sharp pain pierced through her calf. She screamed, looking down. Blood pooled beneath her, though nothing sharp was nearby. Then a whisper brushed against her ear. "Carolyn, mother of them?" Her body trembled as if something unseen was pressing down on her, invading her. Then they learned the name, Bathsheba Sherman. Born in 1812, this woman once lived nearby, rumored to be a witch. Villagers whispered that she had killed an infant with a sewing needle, offering the child as a sacrifice to the devil, before hanging herself from a tree behind the house. There was no proof, but her curse lived on. Andrea, the eldest daughter, claimed Bathsheba had targeted her mother, jealous of the love Carolyn had for her children. It wanted to take her body, to turn her into something inhuman. Desperate, the family reached out to Ed and Lorraine Warren, the famed paranormal investigators. The moment Lorraine stepped inside, she grimaced. "There is a dark spirit here. It doesn't want you to live." Ed asked about Bathsheba. Andrea nodded. "Our neighbor said she killed her own child." Lorraine examined Carolyn's leg and found a small circular wound on her heel, identical to the skull wounds of the infant killed over a century ago. "This is Bathsheba's mark," she murmured. "This isn't just a ghost. It's a demon." That night, Carolyn changed. Her voice grew hoarse, speaking in a strange, guttural language, not her own. Andrea later recalled. Mom lifted a chair high above her head, like she was going to smash everything apart. Lorraine turned to Ed and whispered, "We need an exorcism. On the entire house." But I knew Bathsheba would not release her prey so easily. The exorcism took place in the cold, dark basement of the Old Arnold Estate. Ed clutched a crucifix, Lorraine whispered prayers, and the Perron family huddled in the corner, trembling. The lights flickered, a guttural growl rumbled from the shadows. Then Carolyn was possessed. Her eyes rolled white, her voice turned into a deep, rasping snarl. "This house is mine." She lifted a chair high above her head, furniture flew wildly, and she was thrown violently across the room, as if she were nothing more than a rag doll. Andrea screamed, "My mother is no longer my mother." Then Bathsheba appeared, her face twisted and deformed, her eyes black as voids, a long sewing needle gleaming in her skeletal fingers. Lorraine cried out, "Return to hell." Carolyn collapsed, unconscious. Bathsheba vanished, but the air remained heavy as lead. The ritual had failed. Andrea later recounted that the Warrens weren't just powerless, they had made Bathsheba even angrier. The nights became worse. Unseen blows struck the family. The house echoed with tormented wails. They wanted to leave, but the 1970s were a time of economic hardship. Every penny they had was tied to this house. No one wanted to buy a dying 200-acre farm. Piece by piece they sold the land. By 1980, only 8.5 acres remained. Finally, Roger and Carolyn sold the house and left. But the haunting never left them. In 2005, the ghost hunters team arrived to investigate. They heard knocks from within the walls, doors creaking open on their own, and chilling cold spots, despite the summer heat. Records revealed that 8 generations had lived and died here, each plagued by tragedy, hangings, poisonings, drownings, deaths by freezing. The next owners, Corey and Jennifer Heinzen, bought the house in 2019 and reported the same eerie occurrences. Whispers in the dark, shadowy figures drifting through the night. The Old Arnold Estate is not just a house. It is a curse. The Perron family lived alongside Bathsheba for nearly a decade, but the darkness never left. Their story endures in The Conjuring, a warning that some secrets are never buried. And if you listen closely on a quiet night, you just might hear Bathsheba's raspy laughter, drifting through the wind from a house that never sleeps.